1, 2, 3, 4.
These boys only want the best stuff. They want the cream of the crop. They don't want none of that Michael Bay shit. They want the shit that pops. Oscar bait, black and white. Maybe something French. If it's got more than one explosion, honey, put that shit on the bench. Oscar Wieners, Oscar Wieners, Oscar Wieners. These boys are the Oscar Wieners.
Yum, yum.
Oscar Wieners.
Welcome to Oscar Wieners,
Yes.
the only show on the internet where Hollywood's biggest night. All right, so it's complicated. The Hollywood's biggest night wants to get married, but the
Oh my
church
God.
has to approve the divorce. That has to go all the way to the Pope. And, oh, God,
It's
the
such
podcast
a
sort of
fucking-
becomes the head of the Church of England in order to annul the marriage so he can marry his mistress. And somehow this concerns this regular guy who, like, it doesn't really matter, but it does.
It's that kind of show, without a doubt.
Yeah.
What a complicated topsy-turvy series of
Unfortunate events.
truly unfortunate.
Yeah.
A lot of minutia going on.
A lot of minutia. A lot of, you kind of need to know the inner workings of the royal bullshit to kind of have a clear historical background for what's going on.
And thankfully, we do. You've come to the right place.
I'm Henry the Fourth.
Nice. And I'm Thomas Bohr.
Nice.
How about that, right?
That's-
How about
that's
that?
really good. That's
See
really
what I-
good.
see what I did? If folks at home watching or listening haven't seen the movie, they'll once they watch it, they'll
Which they
understand
will.
that reference, which they
Yeah.
certainly will and should. They'll get that reference.
No, I'm Michael Zander, and this is a podcast where every week we pick a Best Picture winner at random and try to figure out if it's Best Picture worthy. Yeah,
Yeah.
worthy.
What do you think of my overalls? Is this
Really
are
cool.
Are they coming through?
Like, no, but I can see them on my end, if that makes sense.
Okay.
They're not going to come through when the picture is condensed and put on YouTube or whatever.
Right. Does
But
it
I
come
see
through
them
that?
right now.
Does it come through that they're shorts? Like, does that translate, or do I have to?
Yeah,
One of
you can
these.
bare thigh if you need to.
Yeah.
Bare calf.
Yeah, right there. Just wanted that to be present and known. That's
You
all.
should. I mean, you should save that for your OnlyFans, but if you want to give it out for free, by all means.
Consider it a teaser.
No, this is a podcast where we just pick a Best Picture winner at random and try to figure out if it's Best Picture worthy. And this week we're talking about the 1967 worst picture.
Wow. How dare you?
A Man for All Seasons.
Late 60s.
Late 60s. The political revolution they're all in effect. You got the civil rights
Yeah.
movement, you got the women's rights movement.
Mhm.
Things
all
of that
going
sort
down.
of are going on, at least in the United States, if maybe throughout the world, I don't really know. And the Academy the American Academy decides to give the Oscar to a movie that is barely relevant for the times.
That's putting it up. Yeah, there really is no translatable aspect of this to what's going on in 1967.
Directed by Fred Zinnemann, who we just talked about with From Here to Eternity.
That's what he did.
He's
Okay.
fucking back.
He's back.
And Man for All Seasons, it's based on a play.
Great.
Rob,
Great start.
based on Robert Bolt's play, and he wrote the screenplay for the film. And it's
name.
about it's set in like the 15 it's set between 1529 and 1535 during the reign of Henry VIII. And Henry VIII, played by Robert Shaw, who famously played Captain Quint in Jaws.
Ah, that's where I recognize him from.
It's a movie about like Henry VIII wants to. He appeals to like the Church of England, like he wants to divorce the woman he's currently married to, um, Catherine of Aragon. Um,
Love
that's what
that
it says on
movie.
Wikipedia. I don't fucking know. Um,
I
you
mean, basically a king wants to get divorced, and this fucking guy Thomas won't let him because the Pope says no.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, Thomas. So Henry VIII wants to divorce his wife because she can't bear children. Henry VIII is obviously obsessed with having an heir.
Yeah.
He wants to marry his mistress Anne Boleyn. Um,
He needs an Air Jordan.
needs an Air Jordan. Uh, and Thomas More, who's like the fucking Chancellor of England or some bullshit.
He has
Lord
a
Chancellor.
high, yeah, he's got a high religious post.
He,
He's got a lot of
yeah,
authority. It's I don't understand how much authority he has. Like maybe that's just me being dumb, but like it doesn't like he has to answer to several people, but also like he's the guy who decides if the king can get divorced or not. I
yeah.
don't really understand
It's
that.
never made clear. I mean, again, maybe I'm stupid. I don't understand how British politics worked then. I don't understand how they work now. But like,
They had
it's
parliament, I think. Actually, I
yeah,
don't think they did.
it's never made clear why Thomas More is so instrumental in making this like legitimizing this annulment of the marriage.
Yeah,
Um
but he is for some reason.
yeah, and he's conflicted because he's at once like loyal to king and country, blah blah blah, but he's more loyal and more devout to like they're Catholic, right? Catholicism.
Yeah.
And the church
Oh,
and like the
actually,
Pope.
on second thought, maybe not. I might just be dumb.
They are
No,
Catholic
they must be. Yeah, the
because
Pope is
then
Catholic.
there's that really interesting subplot where his daughter wants to marry a Lutheran and it's like a
Oh
whole big
yeah.
to do.
Yeah, his daughter wants to marry this guy named Will who like takes every opportunity to just dunk on Thomas at his house, which is kind of fun to watch.
Yeah,
I as fun as it gets basically in this movie.
truly. Um
Yeah, I mean, should we come out and say this movie is tough? It's a tough one.
it
uh,
is
how
a
did you come
s-
about it?
I came about it. I went on Apple TV and I clicked
Nice.
rent for 3.99 a man for all seasons.
Oh boy.
Um and I started it. I went in being like, all right, this is gonna be some fucking old England bullshit, and I'm probably gonna be kind of bored. But I was like, I had enough space in my head where I was like, you know what? I should approach this. I felt the same way about Cimarron. I was like, I'm not gonna like this, and I was like, that movie's okay.
Yeah.
Um, 15 minutes into this, I was like, this is really tough to get through. I'm not only bored. Orson Welles is here, and I'm bored.
He oh my god, that's such a great point. Yeah, he's here for like half a second.
Yeah, he has like 5 minutes total screen time.
Yeah. I guess he was probably pretty interesting, but that's a great point. Like you have a great cast. They're all great actors, but it still does not make this thing any more palatable, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Um I'm not and you know, that could be attributed to subject matter. Perhaps, you know, this is not necessarily my forte. But they also didn't take any time to cater it to the uninitiated, which was me and you, because we don't know what the hell's going on in 1500s. But I don't know what the hell were they doing back then. I don't know. Probably getting the bubonic plague. That's when
Yeah.
"Ring Around the Rosie" was invented, I
Yeah,
think.
that was the fucking song of the summer.
Yeah, that was the song of 19, not 19, 1519.
Yeah, I think I think this movie like weirdly feels like a kind of like new Hollywood like late 60s movie in that it's very it's operating at like a very sizable different distance from the audience where like it's not really telling you a lot of information. You kind of have to intuit information based on like kind of it's not even dense, it's more just like sort of vague
It's
information.
it's very vague. It's very gray, visually and spiritually. Um, and it's really just, unfortunately, it's kind of tough to sit through. Like, I can't imagine recommending this to somebody just because I personally did not enjoy it. I'd file it under the category of well made, but not enjoyable.
Yeah, it's like I think it's aesthetics are feel very of the time, like not in a dated way, but in a way where it's like, oh, Hollywood is shifting from like this sort of classical type of historical movie and like kind of transitioning into a more like kind of grounded thing.
Yeah.
But it also doesn't feel super contemporary in a way that like is engaging to me now.
No, I kind of like it surprised me. Even your introduction, it surprised me that this was 19. I knew this came out in the 60s, but 1967. Like I thought it'd be a little bit more hip, a little bit more modern. It really made no strides to do that. Not that it has to, but
Yeah.
those are my personal tastes. I like it to be a little bit more fast paced, a little bit more engaging, and it wasn't really engaging. Some things I did like.
Yeah, tell me. I'll get into mine too.
Yeah. Um, they use threepence to pay for stuff. Like I just like the idea of like you just slap a coin down and like that dude who got that tip from Thomas, he and his family had a great Christmas that year because he got threepence.
It's so true. Old English money is so cool because it's all
Yeah,
like
just like
coin based.
yeah. That's pretty sick. I'll give them that. Um Truly the saving grace of this film is King Henry VIII, played by Robert Shaw.
But he's
He is just
barely
a
in it.
he's in it. Oh my god!
He has
It
the
pains me
one big
so much
scene.
that he's gone for the rest
Yeah.
of the movie. That's it.
Yeah. He appears like once or twice in like very small amounts, but he has that one like kind of 10-minute scene and then he's done.
Robert Shaw as King Henry VIII. Not only is he a sight to behold, he is the first ever Joker. Like he is the Joker before that existed.
Yeah.
He is like so unpredictable. His emotions are so off the wall. Like he's gregarious in one, like in a frame, and then in the next frame he's furious, like fuming mad. And the conversation he has with Thomas about basically trying to convince him, like, "Yo, let me get a divorce, Holmes."
Yeah.
It's so engaging, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm back in. And then I was so quickly out because he's gone. That was it. Just like a
Yeah.
beam of light that graced the screen and then disappeared forever. Just done.
100%. I had the same note. I was like, I literally wrote down Robert Shaw is bringing all the energy this movie has.
Truly, he is fully shouldering it. It really is amazing to see. Um, and the last thing I liked the idea of sending somebody to the tower.
Pretty
I thought
cool.
that was cool.
Kind
Yeah,
of a
pretty
cool
cool.
jail.
Yeah, pretty cool jail. I think we should. I mean, I don't know. Maybe we don't need that kind of prison overhaul in today's day and age, but like sending somebody to the tower is kind of sick. To the
Yeah.
tower with ye.
Yeah. It is really sick. I like he's just like up there reading all day except when they take away his books.
That scene I did. There's a one quick little back and forth where like he's talking to that dude Cromwell who's like interrogating him, and Thomas More is like, "Hey, can I have a couple more books?" Like, you have books? And he's like, "Yeah. Please take his books away. He shouldn't have those."
Yeah. It's like,
And
God,
that
you
sucks.
just gave yourself up, man. You could have held on to the ones you had.
Like, I get that he's portrayed as a very intelligent individual and like a man of faith and also like a man of high moral stature, but also he just gets dunked on so hard in that one instance where he's like, fuck, I lost books.
Yeah. I Paul Scofield plays Thomas More. I think
He's good.
he's good. There's not a lot to say about like the plot of this movie. It really is for it's a 2-hour movie,
Yeah.
and for the first like 90 to 100 minutes,
Yeah.
it's just back and forth like Thomas, come on, you have to for some reason approve of this annulment and then marriage. Like, come on.
It's on you, bud.
And then Henry VIII becomes he's like, Pope, I've got this. And he makes himself the head of the Church of England. Um,
That's kind of
and
cool.
kind of cool having that power, I guess. But then he's able to annul his own marriage basically and marry his mistress. And then when Thomas More still won't like just publicly acknowledge that it was a totally justified thing for Henry VIII to do, he's like, okay, you're going to the Tower. And to me,
Nice.
that's where, so up till then, I was like, this is really boring. And then the last like 35 minutes, I was like, this is kind of interesting because it kind of actually, it finally becomes about not just people sitting in rooms talking about like, Thomas, you should really agree with him, or like, oh, why aren't you agreeing with him? Blah, 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 having the same conversation over and over again. But it becomes about like how far a man will go to like stand up for his faith, which I think is interesting.
It is interesting, but also his stance is so it's so unnecessary and dumb. Like, why not just let the guy have a divorce? You know what I mean? Like, maybe that's just a modern angle of looking at
Right,
it.
right. Yeah.
Like, yes, it's admirable that he's. It's like having a shitty opinion that you. I admire you for sticking to it for some weird reason. It's like I only eat ice cream with a fork, and it'll be like that to the day I die. It's like, yeah, I guess I admire you for doing that and sticking to it, but that's a fucking stupid thing to do.
Yeah. Even if it's like I'm just like I don't know, couldn't be me because like if it was like, hey, if you don't agree with him, they're gonna chop off your head, and you don't even have to like agree with it like super enthusiastically. All you have to do is just say like, yeah, that was fine, and then that's fine. Then you'll be let off the hook.
And it's all good.
I would say that so fast.
I mean, maybe we just don't have the same moral rectitude that he has. Maybe we're just not as strong-willed.
I mean, I think that's
Um,
true. I think I'm a bigger coward than Thomas More.
but also we would be alive and we would get to hang out with our family. Everybody is imploring him. Like his wife and family come to visit him in the tower, and they're like, "Just fucking say that he's divorced. Like it's just please come home." And Thomas is like crying. He's like, "I can't do it."
He's like, but this custard's really fucking good that you made for me. This shit slaps. I'm gonna
Custard
miss
was
this when they fucking chop off my head. Yeah.
Hope doesn't fucking care as long as he sits on his gold throne. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
That's right, 1500s papacy. I'm coming for your ass.
God, I didn't realize you were gonna fucking attack the Catholic Church so hard this episode.
Neither did I. Hey, it's just one of those days. You know what I mean?
Sunday fun day, baby.
That's right.
I don't really have any. The music's good. I think the music sounds like a Ren Fair, and that's fun.
That's
I don't
not
know.
a compliment. I don't know if that's a positive. I will say, like, I mean, we talked about Robert Shaw, but like he buoys this thing so hard that it does elevate it above um a lot of films that I disliked during this Best Picture run that we've been doing. Um, I would put it a tier above the Crashes of the world and the Broadway melodies of the world. The Gigi's of the world are below this. For what it's worth, I don't know. I can't recommend watching this
No,
unless you're big into this time period.
yeah, I agree. I don't think the movie's like a piece of shit. I just think it's kind of boring. I do think it's better than Oliver.
I think this is better than Oliver. I think this is better structured than Oliver. It's like Oliver, I think, has more to it. Like if I were to discuss Oliver with somebody like you, for example, I think there's more there. And maybe it's even more entertaining, but I think this is just a better built film.
Completely agree with everything you just said. I think,
Yeah.
yeah, I think like Oliver, like in theory, it should be better, but it isn't.
Yeah.
Like it should be better than this, but it isn't.
I mean, they're both based on plays. So what does that tell you, America?
That's it. That's all I have. This movie, I don't think it's good. I don't think it's the worst movie I've ever seen. I just don't recommend it.
we got to talk about Rich
Right.
because he's
Played
a
by
fucking
John Hurt, a little fucking incel, little cuck.
he is truly the Mark David Chapman of this piece. He is about to go. Oh, like from the top, you can clock that he's about to go haywire. He's like an obsessed little freak who's just like he loves Thomas More and like to the point of obsession. He's like, give me a job in your office, and he Thomas is like, I don't really need anybody, man. I'm sorry. You could go work for fucking this other guy. He's like, no, I need to be in your vicinity. And then of course, he double crosses him and perjures himself, and he's the only one who survives in the end, I guess.
Yeah, he is in the closing like titles of like, oh, what happened to everybody after, which is basically all of their heads got chopped off at some point.
That's the most insane, abrupt ending. Like, it's so what happened here? You want to know what happens to everybody?
Yeah, tell me.
The Archbishop is burned at the stake. Duke should have been executed, but the king died of syphilis the night before, so that didn't happen.
Yeah.
And then Rich became, by the way, his name is Richard Rich, which is fucking stupid. I don't
Richie
know if it's a real
Rich.
person. Yeah, it's literally Richie Rich. He became Chancellor of England.
Yeah, he eventually filled like he held the same position that Thomas More held,
Yeah, even though he
which is ironic, I guess.
basically lied during the final trial.
Yeah,
The final Emile Zola-esque trial.
Yeah, God, these movies are
Yeah.
ending in a trial.
I mean, that part was, I think, interesting. The
Yeah,
trial.
the trial was good. I think that stuff's
'Cause
interesting.
there was yelling, there was some different volumes other than one note. You know,
I
that goes
at
a long
least
way.
at least to me, you kind of get the vibe that like most of the courtroom is on Thomas More's side, like by a certain point, but then for some reason the jury's still like, yeah, he's guilty, I guess. You're like, what?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess it does do a good job of showing how corrupt England's politics were during this era, and probably most eras I can imagine. But
Oh, what are you talking about?
it's right, England. That's right, Catholic
this is
Church.
an exception to the rule. This period in
Um,
history.
Yeah, they basically Thomas More, he pleads his case perfectly because he's an exceptional lawyer, and then basically wins over the entire jury. They're like cheering and applauding him, and then the prosecutor, fucking Cromwell, is like, but basically he broke the law, right, guys? And then the jury is like, oh, yeah. It's so
Yeah,
weak. I mean, like, I guess it just underscores how disappointing it is that there truly is no justice.
right.
But that's pretty much it.
Don't recommend it. Go watch something else.
Go watch something else. Go watch. Ooh, what would you recommend?
I just watched Scenes from a Marriage, and Ingmar Bergman.
Oh,
It was edited down into a under 3 hour movie, but there's a TV cut that's just under 5 hours. I watched the under 5 hour cut, and it was some of the best shit I've ever seen.
really? I haven't tried an Ingmar piece yet.
Which would I recommend first? I haven't seen that many. I would recommend maybe The Virgin Spring or Wild Strawberries, because
Ooh,
they're
that
sh-
sounds
they're
delicious.
short. They're like kind of like about 90 minutes, maybe slightly above, but not much, but not by much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wild strawberries.
Yeah.
Duly noted.
It's about like an old guy who's like reminiscing on his life, and it's sweet and sad, and yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Old fucker.
Yeah, I guess. Did you want to hear the other nominees?
Yes, my dude. I would love to.
All right. So obviously, obviously, A Man for All Seasons, I'm stalling here if you can't tell, wins Best Picture at the 1967 Oscars.
Hmm. How'd it do on costumes?
That's a good question. And I'll get to that when I get to it.
Okay, fair enough.
Let's see, costume design. I guess there was a costume design black and white category and a costume design color category, and a Man for All Seasons won for the color category. So
That seems weird.
it's very weird. It's very
Okay.
strange.
All right.
Um, so that's good. Good for them.
Nice.
Next up we have so obviously Man for All Seasons wins Best Picture, and then other nominees include
Mhm.
Alfie,
Okay. So who is
directed by
Alfie?
Lewis Gilbert,
Okay.
starring it looks like Michael Caine.
Michael
Michael
K.
Caine.
Nice.
And it's about a young man who leads a promiscuous lifestyle until several life
Oh,
reversals make him rethink his purposes and goals in life. That is a very vague description.
life reversals like Benjamin Button? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, I guess, yeah, it is a weird way to say it. I guess it's just like things happen to him, and all of a sudden he's like, hey, maybe I shouldn't be this way.
It sounds interesting.
Yeah,
I
I'm
just have to
sure.
know what's going on.
All right, next up we have The Russians Are Coming. The Russians Are Coming.
No.
And
Wonder what that one's about.
a Norman Jewison movie. The next
Oh.
year, his movie wins Best Picture in the heat of the night.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
and it stars Carl Reiner, Eva Marie Saint, Alan Arkin.
Okay.
When a Soviet submarine gets stuck on a sandbar off the coast of a New England island, its commander orders his second in command, Lieutenant Rozanov, to get them moving again before there is an international incident. Rozanov seeks assistance
All
from
right.
the island locals, including the police chief and a vacationing television writer, while trying to allay their fears of a communist invasion by claiming he and his crew are Norwegian sailors. That sounds like a fun little romp.
Ooh. There's some intrigue going on there. Yeah, it sounds like a fun romp.
Next up, we have a Robert Wise movie, The Sand Pebbles. Engineer Jack Holman arrives aboard the gunboat USS San Pablo, assigned to patrol a tributary of the Yangtze. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Yangtze.
In the middle of exploited and revolution-torn 1926 China. His iconoclasm and cynical nature soon clash with the. I'm like fucking. I'm not doing it.
Sorry, you got it. You got it. You got it.
His cynical nature soon clashed with the rice bowl system, which runs the ship, and the uneasy symbiosis between Chinese and foreigners on the river. This letterbox. Hostility towards
there.
the gunboat's presence reaches a climax when the boat must crash through a river boom and rescue missionaries upriver at China Light Mission. I don't know. The movie's 3 hours and 15 minutes. It stars Steve McQueen and Richard Attenborough. It sounds a little complicated.
It sounds a little bit complicated. For 3 hours, I'm out. I'm sorry.
Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf is the final movie.
Oh, okay.
A Mike Nichols joint. A bitter aging couple with the help of alcohol use a young couple to fuel anguish and emotional pain towards each other.
Huh?
It's a very famous movie. I think this is kind of the movie that people say in retrospect should have won of the nominees. I think it's like a pretty like modern feeling thing for the
That's
period.
too bad because I'm gonna have to give it to Alfie.
He's the coolest guy in the world.
He's awesome. You love him.
Let Alfie into your house.
Please. I also saw some rumblings that Good, the Bad, the Ugly was released this year.
Came out in 66. That's right. So it would have qualified for the 67 year. It's the best movie ever made. So
shit,
it's kind of crazy.
That's crazy. So it didn't even get nominated?
Nope.
Damn, that's one of my favorite movies ever, but fine. Fine, I guess. So I got a couple reviews that I found from the internet for this movie, not Alfie, for A Man for All Seasons. Give me the name. Give me the name of somebody who's really scared of Jaws. Who's gonna need a bigger boat?
Fucking Captain Brody. Not Captain. Chief Brody? I think he's a chief.
Chief Brody says 2 stars. Bored out of my mind. And then Robert Shaw would appear like a raft of zeal or a mirage of sparkling lake in the desert, and I'd stare into his blue eyes with thirst
and gratitude for a moment's reprieve from dullness. And then, as quickly as he came, he'd disappear for what seemed like an interminable length of time, leaving me bereft of all hope ever being entertained by anything ever again.
Yeah, that's very accurate.
That's beautiful. Give me the name of somebody who's going to the club going bambo bambo.
Fucking Cormac McCarthy.
Cormac McCarthy says, 2 stars, Orson Welles looks like Crazy Frog. Here's proof. I'm going to put it right here. Next review and last review, 2 stars by some guy named Jeff. Who would have thought that a 1966 film based on a radio play about trying to get King Henry VIII to not reject the Catholic Church might not be the most engaging thing on earth?
Beautiful. Thank you for those reviews. Next week we're talking A Beautiful Mind, directed by Ron Howard. Fucking
Yes.
shove a hot dog in your mouth and then fucking Lady and the Tramp it with your lover. Bye-bye, Wieners.
Bye-bye.
1, 2, 3, 4. These boys only want the best stuff. They want the cream of the crop. They don't want none of that Michael Bay shit. They want the shit that bops. Oscar bait, black and white. Maybe something French. If it's got more than one explosion, honey, put that shit on the bench. Oscar Wieners. Oscar Wieners. Oscar Wieners. These boys are the Oscar Wieners.